place where you belong. Give you strength to carry on. Open your heart, set your mind at ease. Live your life and you'll be free. We're gonna rise, rise, rise. Keep on rising, rise, rise, rise. Keep on rising,
Good morning, all, and welcome to the Toon Review. My name is Paul, and thank you very much for tuning in this morning. Just thought we'd do something a little bit different. Start doing maybe a couple of early live shows daily instead of recorded ones. And then if you're watching it live, or you can watch it on a rerun during the day. So we're just going to see how it goes. But good morning to everybody that's tuning in so far. If you do enjoy the show this morning, please do hit that like button for us. And of course, if you're new, come and join this amazing community by hitting the subscribe button, which is free to do so. And also the notification bell, which will let you know when we schedule our live shows or we upload any recorded ones. Now, as I say, I'm going to trial this live system and see if people are interested in the live shows. I think they are, to be honest. We may not get the numbers that we do on a night time, but obviously people can watch the reruns throughout the day as well. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. So basically, want to do a show this morning, as you can see there. Do we need a new goalkeeper? And you know, when Martin Dubravka came into the side, I wasn't particularly worried. I thought he would do a decent job. However, 7 goals in 2 games. I'm not so sure. Some of the goals I've looked back on and thought maybe he could have done a little better here and there. And certainly the feeling is on social media as well, is that a goalkeeper is needed. But what do? You know, there's not many goalkeepers out there at the moment who are available on a free transfer. There is one in particular, which we will come on to, of course. But we are struggling. And it also gets to the point where are the defenders actually confident of Martin Dubravka in goal? They don't have that same kind of safety as they do with Nick Pope. And we've criticised Nick Pope a lot this season for his distribution, etc. However, his shot stopping and his performances in the penalty area, coming out, clearing the ball, etc., have been really good. And I think that's what we need to focus on as to why there's a big difference now we're seeing between Nick Pope and Martin Dubravka. And the fact that Dubravka has stepped in, I personally think he's past it. As much as I hate to say it, because I think he's been a very good servant to the club. And yes, there was all the Man United garbage with it, when he went on loan. But I think Newcastle let him go on loan simply because of that reason, that they think he's past it. And he's just, the goals that I've watched back, he seems very, very slow to react to. His position is not quite right for me. But I'm interested to see what you guys think, because for me, it's a worry. It's a big worry, especially when our defenders have been so comfortable with Nick Pope, and then suddenly now he's not there, and Dubravka's there, and it's a little bit of a worry. Morning, P-Lock Keith. Hope you're well. Carl says, victims of our own success last season and a run of bad luck no one could predict in regards of injuries. Louis says, in my opinion, there's no coincidence we've conceded this many goals since Pope's injury. Martin says, I think we should take De Gea till the end of the season, only paying wages, no transfer fee. Because there's no transfer fee, I think the signing of De Gea would be, or De Gea, or however you want to pronounce it, is a good one for me. I think he's only 31, is David De Gea. And, he finished his Man United career on a bit of a negative. But let's be bluntly honest. David De Gea is a absolutely fantastic goalkeeper. And the fact that we wouldn't have to pay a transfer fee means that we could probably offer him decent wages and a return to the Premier League, which I think he's looking at. Otherwise, why is he still a free agent? If the Spanish clubs were going to come in for him or he wanted to go to Spain, apparently reports are that he's had plenty of offers, certainly from Spain and Saudi Arabia as well, and he's refused because I think he wants a way back into the Premier League. And Newcastle United now, in the position that we are in a very good position to offer him a deal. Even if it's just till the end of the season, get him back playing again. And then at the end of the season, decisions can be made. I just don't think we're strong enough in that department now where we need to be. Yes, there's other positions of the pitch that need to be filled. And before Nick Pope injury, then we could have looked at the other positions and thought, yeah, we need them filled rather quickly. However, this time around, because of Nick Pope's injury, and it's 4 months at the minute, but he's got that 4 months, then he's going to have to, get himself back to fitness. So I think, when are we looking 4 months? We're probably looking towards the end of the season. So it seems like a perfect option to go and get David De Gea. And like I said, the fact that there isn't any transfer fee, I mean, surely it's a no-brainer. And surely this just proves over the last 2 games, 7 goals. I mean, when was the last time Nick Pope conceded 7 goals in 2 games? You'd be looking at a long, long time ago. Spike, good morning. Hope you're well. Roger, good morning. Keith, Cushy, Ian, good morning. Matt Fletcher says, a show at 10 p.m. in Oz. Yeah, I thought that the Australians might like it. Ian says, loving the live, Paul. Thank you, absolutely. Tom says, we absolutely need a new goalkeeper. What's strange is we have 4 goalkeepers on the books, sometimes 2 on the bench, but only 1 is good enough to play. That's a very good point, Tom. And that's why I wanted to talk about this today, because the 4 goalkeepers that are there, I think, certainly with the likes of Gillespie's not going to play, is he? He's got no, I don't even know why Mark Gillespie is in the squad most of the time. There is no chance of him playing any football in the first team for Newcastle. He had his chance a couple of years ago, of course, and we all remember Newport County and things like that. It was awful. It was really, really awful. However, Karius, for me, deserves an opportunity. If you look back at Karius' season that he had with Liverpool before that Champions League final, people were raving about him, saying, he's had a fantastic season. Yet now, because he had that Champions League game, which I genuinely think the guy was concussed. If you look at the challenge on him, I think it was Ramos. I think he took a big blow to the head and he was concussed. And that led to certain mistakes that Karius made in that game. But everybody seems to be fixated on that. And that for me is disappointing, because he has a lot to offer. And I think he's better than Dubravka. I genuinely believe that. But for some reason, because Dubravka's been at the club a long time, does Eddie Howe have to be questioned again about maybe having his favourite players instead of, putting a player in that maybe is better than the ones he's already got? I don't know. GB says, well, it looks like it. I always rated Dubravka. He's still a good goalkeeper. Hope just doesn't have Pope's shotting ability, but who does? A lot of goalkeepers do. I certainly think David De Gea does. I'm in no doubt about that. I think David De Gea, for shot stopping is as good, or if not better, than Nick Pope. Pope he's got a lot of De Gea traits in him, especially with saving with his legs and his feet. David De Gea is a genius at that, and has proved that over the years at Manchester United with his shot blocking and stopping with his legs and his feet. But you look at the penalty incident for Tottenham yesterday. Dubravka comes off his line, and for some crazy reason goes in with his feet. Now, a goalkeeper, you can use your hands. Why? I mean, yes, Son might have just knocked it past him and gone on and won the penalty anyway. However, you're diving at somebody's feet as a goalkeeper. You've got a chance of pushing the ball away with your hand or grabbing it with your hand. Why didn't he do that? And there's just certain aspects of the goals that he's conceded against Everton and Tottenham, and I've looked back at them, and I think, wow, is that really, was that Dubravka's fault? And you start questioning yourself on every goal. And I know, Billy pays big attention to Dubravka when he's in goal, and he has been unsure about him for a couple of seasons now. Certainly with coming out, and controlling his penalty area. And I think that's what maybe happened to Kieran Trippier when he made the mistake. A lot of people have said the first mistake, when he looked up and saw that there was only Dubravka on, he hesitated. And then the ball obviously rolled away from him, and they broke in. So I can understand there's a little bit of a worry there with our defense as well. Zishan, thank you for a $9.99 super chat. He says, get David De Gea in now. He's a good shot stopper, probably even better than Pope. I don't have confidence in Dubravka after the last 2 games. Neither do I. And I have to be honest, I don't like saying that because I think Dubravka's done really well for us. He's been a great servant to the club. Yeah, the Man United thing left a bit of taste, didn't it? But I just don't think he's good enough now. I like coffee. Says happy to see the fish tank pack. Thank you. There will be more going on the walls and such like very shortly as for Newcastle memorabilia rather than a green screen all the time. Kevin says, I think we only thought Dubravka would be fine as he was 3 to 4 years ago. Things have moved on and doesn't look like Dubes has it. And that's the thing. I think we're looking at Dubravka before he came in for these games and thought, he's okay. We shouldn't worry about it. But we're looking at the Dubravka from a few years ago and not the Dubravka in the present day. And I think that's what the problem's been with us fans is we've sort of said, yeah, Dubravka will be fine. But in reality, he's not. He's 3 to 4 years older now and he's struggling massively. Paolo thinks we should go and get De Gea. Jack M. Morning team. Hope everyone's not too down. It is what it is. Don't forget, we are 2 to 3 years ahead of where we should be. How are the lads and lasses? Indeed. But I think the goalkeeping position is one that I think we should be worried about, genuinely worried about, given that 7 goals in 2 games is just so unlike Newcastle United. Truls, thank you for 100 Norwegian krona. Very kind, my friend. Dubes isn't world class, and only world class keepers are good after 32. Morgan says, I don't think a new goalkeeper is going to change anything. Even with Pope in goal, we would have lost. Yes, I think we would have, but, some of the goals, like I say, I've looked very, very closely back on them, and I think I'm genuinely worried. The reaction time of Dubravka isn't what it used to be. He's a lot slower, and his positioning isn't quite good. You go back and watch the Everton goals and the Tottenham goals, and you think, wow. Ruffiad Bernician says, morning, all options for a keeper may be limited as we are carrying over £70 million loss in our current FFP cycle from 21-22, and unless we get a free agent, cannot get anyone until January. But that's why I think David De Gea is it's a no-brainer for me. And I've heard Alan Pardew on the radio, I think it was last night, saying that De Gea is Newcastle should go for De Gea. He's there, he's a free, which means the wages can be a little more improved because we're not having to pay a transfer fee. And, of course, it doesn't matter about the transfer window because he's a free agent. So why not go and get him? It seems a logical thing to do. We can afford him, certainly wage-wise. So for me, I think it would be absolutely fantastic to have a goalkeeper of De Gea's class, especially when we're playing so many important games. We just can't rely on Dubravka. I'm sorry to say it, but time has moved on. John Joe, thanks for your $1.99 super chat. He says, should we get Lingard and give Karius a chance? Lingard, not a chance in hell. His time's been and gone for me. He's ruined his career, Jesse Lingard. Karius, definitely give him a chance. Personally speaking, I'd rather see Karius in goal on Wednesday night than I would Dubravka. Karius was superb for Liverpool in that Champions League run. He was absolutely superb until the final. So, you know what? I'm sad that it's come to this. I really am, and I'm sad that we have to do a question. Do we need a new goalkeeper? But unfortunately, I think it's there. It's right staring in front of everybody. How I think it's hard to find the words, but the defense doesn't look right when Nick Pope's not there, because I just don't think that Dubravka commands his area as well as what Nick Pope does. And the players also have that belief in Nick Pope, but they don't in Dubravka for some reason, whatever that may be. But maybe they feel like the fans, maybe they feel like Dubravka is just now a little bit too old or a little bit slower than Pope, so they don't know where his positioning is going to be, etc. So it's a difficult one for the players as well. Nort says, question is, do we get De Gea on a free now or wait until January and get a young, talented goalkeeper? I'd say get De Gea in. I mean, look, we've got some massive games coming up. Huge games. I'm not saying, obviously, Milan is going to come too early to sign De Gea. However, After that, we still have some massive games coming up, both in the Premier League. We've still got a Carabao Cup quarter-final. We've got FA Cup starting, of course, a massive game at the Stadium of Light on January the 6th. Massive games coming up where we need a goalkeeper that we can put our 100% faith in. Do you have 100% faith in Dubravka, or would you be more comfortable with De Gea? It's a big question. Spike says, need to top up all over, especially after the last few weeks. We do. But I think we desperately need to fill that goalkeeping position. And then in January, we can then focus on the other more important positions as well. But at least we've got the goalkeeping position covered, which I think is vital right now. Jimmy says, no-brainer for me, De Gea. I hope you're all right, Jimmy, after the Hammers thrashing yesterday away to Fulham, of course, who Newcastle have this weekend. Bob says, hi, Paul. I think we made a mistake not exploring the free transfer players in the summer like Barkley. Interesting. Asad says, De Gea would be a no-lose situation for us. Exactly, Asad. And that's why I'm talking about De Gea this morning, because I don't see how Newcastle lose with it. You know, you've got a pretty good goalkeeper coming in who has been regularly at the top of the charts for Premier League goalkeeping in David De Gea, who is ready to come in. He's been training. He's you know, it's not like he's just been sitting on his ass for 6 months. He's been training. He's ready to come in. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-lose situation for us. And we get a goalkeeper who I think is so much better than Dubravka. So I don't see the problem. I Like Coffee says also David De Gea had the most clean sheets last season in a banned Man United team. It says it all. Logan says, I'm sorry, I don't want to come across slating the lads. However, Miggy isn't good enough. He had a 1v1 the last 2 games and nothing, not crossing much. Well, we will come on to obviously that. We'll talk about that in the match review tonight with me and Billy. But also, you know, obviously we're going to go live with these new shows on the morning. So we are going to have topics to talk about on the shows every morning. We'll also bring you up to date with any sort of immediate news that's going on as well. So, but we will have topics to talk about, as is this one this morning. Ian Fleming, thank you very much for your £5 super chat. He says, I read that we can't get to here till January because we have our full 25 Premier League squad. Yes, that is a good point, Ian. But also, I think we can make a request to the Premier League for an emergency signing. Now, whether they'd allow that, because obviously we've already got goalkeepers at the club, I don't know whether the Premier League would allow it. But certainly, I mean, coming in on a free, it's a weird one because obviously we've got the squad there, but I think they'd have to discuss that with the Premier League. Kevin says, bringing into here will naturally give the defenders in front a boost. It's not just his keeping ability we get. Experience is key. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Dynamic says, when was the last time Pope had to make as many saves as Dubes had to yesterday? The team were to blame. We never give anyone that amount of free shots. I agree with that. I do agree with that to an extent. However, the way that Dubravka dealt with some of them, I'm not so sure about. That's the only thing that's playing in my mind. Like I say, I've watched the goals back from the Everton game and the Tottenham game before I did this show today, and I'm not sure. I'm genuinely not sure that Dubravka is the answer moving forward. Joseph, good morning. Celebrating my 31st birthday today. Happy birthday, Joseph. Tough one with Dubravka coming into a team who are lacking confidence at the moment, not up to match speed. Hopefully has a big game against Milan. Look, personally, I think Karius should play. I don't think Dubravka conceding 7 in 2 games is the right goalkeeper to play for the Milan game. I would put in Karius. I know he hasn't played a lot, but there's something in me saying that I trust Karius more than Dubravka at the moment, and I don't know why. I can't answer that. It's just something, it's a feeling I've got. Pilar Keith says, we need to stop being sentimental. If a player is not up to our expectations and holding us back, get rid. Sad that they have got to this position. However, we need to improve. Exactly. And that's why I think a lot of people are commenting about Eddie Howe being a little bit too loyal to certain players and maybe not showing that ruthless streak that maybe he needs to show and leave players out. You know, the likes of Trippier, if Trippier's saying to Eddie Howe that I'm fit, I want to play, and Eddie Howe's going, okay, then that's not really a ruthless side that we want to see, because that's not really what a Sir Alex Ferguson or a Pep Guardiola would do. He'd be thinking of the team first. And like I say, I don't think Eddie looks ahead, and sometimes you have to. As much as I love Eddie Howe, and he's been brilliant for this football club, sometimes you're allowed to criticize it, and I think Eddie sometimes maybe just focuses on the one game without looking ahead when he should have been looking ahead to Milan because it's a huge game, and maybe should have made some changes either at Everton or Tottenham yesterday. Troll says we need a keeper, get De Gea till the summer with an option to buy. Ken, good morning to you. He says, yes, new keeper needed, but not De Gea. After doing nothing since May, how long is it going to take him to get Premier League ready? He's been training, Ken. He's been training, I think, with the Spanish team. I'm not sure which one it is. But if you look on his socials, he's definitely been training. So I don't think fitness is an issue for him. I think he's ready to go. He may be a little ring rusty, but, he's ready to go. Toon says, morning, Paul. We definitely need a new keeper. I watched Dubravka during international break. He's shipping in goals for his country too. Yeah, I was going to mention that as well. His country, he's letting a lot of goals in when he plays. And it's human nature to be worried about that, isn't it? It's just human nature. We know that we can see as fans. We're not stupid people. We can see as fans when things aren't quite right. Now, the manager thinks very, very different, obviously, because of the teams that he's picked. But we as fans, we pay our money to go. We're allowed to have a say. We're allowed an opinion on the team itself. And when things aren't going well, you have to ask yourselves, right, where are the main issues at the moment? And the last two games for me, they've been down to a couple of things. Fatigue, without a shadow of a doubt. The lads look knackered, but that's understandable. All right, but sometimes you have to look beyond fatigue and think, right, they're not passing very well. Our away form is dreadful, simply dreadful. There's no excuse for the away form. And we know that Eddie Howe is concerned about the away form. However, the goalkeeping, that is a situation that is a very, very important part of your team. And if you don't have faith in your goalkeeper, and I genuinely believe that the back four do not have faith in the goalkeeper, and you can see it by the way they react. Nobody. They don't pass to Dubravka as much as they do to Nick Pope. Now, it doesn't matter how good you feel that Nick Pope is with his feet. That's irrelevant. They have more confidence in Nick Pope. And, you can see that on the pitch. Shearer69 says, morning, Paul. Yes, we need a new keeper. We're shipping too many goals and the defence is lost without Pope. Just what I've been saying. Paolo thinks that Karius should play. Keith says De Gea would be a great signing. No harm in Karius in immediately. And, if the question you've got to ask is, Karius is there. We've given him a contract extension. So why not give him a chance? What is the point of giving Karius an extension if he's never going to play? Or he's not good enough. Why would we give him a contract extension if he's not good enough? So I think along the line somewhere, Eddie thinks he's good enough. So when you've seen a goalkeeper ship 7 in like Dubravka has, then you start to take note and think, right, maybe we'll give Karius an opportunity. Listen, if Karius came in against Milan and had a worldie, then we'd stop talking about needing a new goalkeeper, wouldn't we? Karius can come in, play a couple of good games. His confidence is through the roof. You go back and watch videos of Karius during Liverpool's Champions League run and his Premier League season there. He was superb. But as I say, people focus on the final, and it's not fair because I genuinely believe he was injured. Asad said all keepers make mistakes, even the best ones, just not that often. I wonder if we make an inquiry for Ramsdale. See, Ramsdale would probably be only a loan at the end of the day, so I'm not sure Ramsdale would be the answer. And I certainly don't think Arsenal are particularly in a position to want Ramsdale to leave. I know that obviously Arteta's sort of left him out a few times for Rhea, but I don't believe that Arsenal would want Ramsdale to come to Newcastle because it's a direct foe in the Premier League, and they're not going to really want to sell to a rival. So I'm not sure where they would stand on there. Dean says there is no way you can blame Dubes for the goals conceded. It's down to shit game, squad management, and shocking performances from the outfield players. Dean, I agree that the performances are terrible, but sometimes you have to look at the goalkeeper as well. Go back and watch the goals. To coin a phrase, says no, Martin, he's not classed as homegrown, assigned too late in his career, pointless player. I think they're talking about Gillespie there. To be honest, the whole Gillespie thing for me is just it's a farce. That's what it is to me. It's a farce. Zishan, thank you for another $9.99 super chat. He says, get David De Gea in now. He's a good shot stopper. Probably. Oh, sorry, I've read that out before. Spike says, can't blame Karius for that game, and he shall not be haunted for that. Yep. Lord Wishart likes the lives. Nice one. Thank you very much. Nearly 300 watching, so, not bad. Not bad at all. Toon says, if we ship more goals in against Milan and Fulham, the board has to pull the trigger. What do you mean by pull the trigger? Do you mean the manager or goalkeeper? Arsenal for Life says, would you take Ramsdale? I would take him, but I don't think Arsenal would want to lose him. I think if anything happened to Ray, and let's be honest, Ray's looked a little iffy since he's come into to be first choice. So I think the jury's very much out on Ray at Arsenal. So I don't think Arsenal would want to be in a position to let Ramsdale go at the moment. Maybe in the summer, that would be something to look at, but certainly I don't think they'll let him go in January. Jazz says he was terrible in the Everton game for corners. Yeah. Just go. Those people that are questioning, saying, oh, Dubes wasn't to blame for any of the goals. I'm not saying he was like 100% to blame for any of them. But you look at his position and you look at his speed, you look at his timing. Not great. Ramsdale, 50 million. I don't think there's any chance in hell we pay that. Certainly not in January. Roger says, I was very much in the De Gea fence, more Renault than not, but now I've changed that. However, I know we won't be held to ransom if he wants the best wages. Well, the fact that he's a free, I think, sort of lets us off a little bit with that. I think we can afford a little bit more to pay him in wages rather than, worry about a signing on. I think signing on fee would probably be a decent amount for De Gea. But maybe we can work something out with a signing on fee, and that would be so much easier, wouldn't it? We can lower the wages and give him a decent signing on fee. Ryan's tuning in at 6 a.m. in Canada at the gym. Nice one, Ryan. Jun says FFP is largely based on wages to revenue ratio, so it does not mean we can get any free agents willy-nilly. Absolutely, but this is just one, isn't it? It's just one. Ian Makepeace, thank you very much for your $4.99 super chat. Given Eddie Howe likes to bed players in before playing them regularly, even if he buys someone in January, how long till they were up to speed? It's a good question. It's a very, very good question. John Joe, thank you for another $1.99 super chat. I'd rather put Mad Dog Tyndall in goal instead of Dubes. Look, the bottom line is, I think the majority of the fans are worried about Dubravka. I think that's blatantly obvious, and what we're seeing in the conversation this morning on here, which is why I want to do these live shows, because I like to get your feedback as well. It's more of a discussion than me just sitting in front of a camera blabbing out all the time. I'm very intrigued to what you guys think in the chat, and that's why we're having this sort of conversation this morning. I Like Coffee says, if you look at De Gea, he single-handedly kept Man United in games and got them top 4 in a trophy last season. That can't be argued. The stats are there. The stats are there to prove it. Acid says we miss Pope's organisation from corners and free kicks. Andy's asking if De Gea is match fit, though. Well, obviously he won't be match fit because he hasn't played any games, but he is training, so he is fit. And to be honest, a goalkeeper with match fitness, does that really? I don't think it's the same as an outfield player for a goalkeeper myself. I think as long as he's shown a lot of sharpness. And Dean says, then why the fact did we sign Karius? Exactly. Gillespie, I just never know. I don't know what the situation is with Gillespie. I don't know whether that was sort of just a sort of sentimental thing with him being a Newcastle United fan. I just have no idea why we kept him on. Avina says, you're spot on, Paul. Karius was battered by Ramos and his reputation has never recovered. Rate him over Dubravka. Rate De Gea over both. Ryan says, we have an academy for young players. An experienced and good keeper is needed at some point. Anthony says, I'm a United fan and I'm still angry we let him go. Yeah, to be honest, I've heard a lot of Man United fans very angry that they let him go. And it was a strange one for me because De Gea seemed to take a lot of stick last season, yet he was probably Man United's saviour, if you like, getting them top 4, obviously beating us in the Carabao Cup final. He was brilliant. And like I said, De Gea, goalkeepers will have up and downs. There's no doubt about it. We've seen that with Nick Pope. You know, they do have up and downs. But I just don't understand Manchester United's letting him go and bringing in Onana, who, well, I mean, you know, there's not much to say of Onana, is there? Relegation beckons. I don't quite think so. Ian says, De Gea kept Dubes out of the Man United team. He's a better keeper. Tom, good morning to you. He says, I'm 100% certain that we will beat Milan and Dortmund will beat PSG. Tom, I love your optimism, mate, and I know you're a very optimistic fan. Listen, anything can happen in a game of football on Wednesday night against Milan. There's no doubt. But I'm just worried at our goalkeeping situation for that game. John Joe, thank you for another 199. He says, if we didn't have faith, how do you think the players are feeling? Well, that's my point. That is my point. You know, how do you think the players are feeling? Because you go from being very, very sort of firm and believe in your goalkeeper that, you know, if that ball comes over the top, a long ball, you know that Nick Pope is going to be there. You know he's there. He doesn't always get it right, but he's always there. Now, you look at Dubravka, completely different situation. And that happened with, I think, Richarlison's goal yesterday. I think Nick Pope is out way quicker than what Dubravka was yesterday for Richarlison's goal. He will have seen that ball come over the top. And you know what I think Nick Pope would have done? Come out and headed it. I think he would have done that or something along them lines. But Dubravka didn't come, and he left it very late before he came out to challenge Richarlison, who just slid the ball under him. I don't think that happens with Nick Pope. You might disagree with me, but I just don't think it happens. Morgan says a goalkeeper should be the last place to look, though. I don't get why this is the first point we look at. The issues stem from how we play, fatigue, injuries, and how we rest and play youngsters. Yes, there's no doubt about that. There is no doubt, Morgan, that is one of the main issues. However, 7 goals in 2 games, and he hasn't looked great. You know, it starts from your goalkeeper. You know, the spine of the team, it starts with your goalkeeper. And if you haven't got faith in your goalkeeper, as a fan, I personally don't at the moment. Now, listen, De Gea may play on Wednesday. Sorry, Dubravka may play on Wednesday and have an absolute blinder. But I'm not so sure he does. Bob says, Paul, do you think Eddie has a say in any of the transfer business at the club? Because De Gea seems a no-brainer. I don't know. Listen, Billy's mentioned it many, many times that when you look back at the last window, you know, are Ashworth and Howe on the same wavelength as each other when it comes to signing players? I don't know. I can't answer that. Listen, that is just an opinion. That's certainly, you know, we have no idea what's going on behind the scenes, and we never will, as to any sort of disagreements and things like that. But you look at certain signings, you look at Lewis Hall, and you think, was that an Eddie Howe signing? I'm not so sure it was. So there is going to be issues there, but it's how we deal with those issues. I don't think that. Of course, there's going to be disagreements in the hierarchy in Newcastle United. They're not going to sit there and just nod their heads to everything. There's going to be disagreements. Mr. Reactions, good morning. He says, hit the likes, everyone. Got to ask the question, but what about Eddie? Does he need to rotate more? Because we have been brutal these past couple of games. Yes is the word to that for rotation. Absolutely. But he doesn't. He's stubborn. And I think, I'm being honest here, I think he's stubborn when it comes to this sort of thing. And whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. But I just think he's a little bit stubborn when it comes to, you know, leaving players out or things like that. Aston says we need to check Karius out before January so they can fully assess what to do. 100% agree. I think get him in against Milan. 100%. Doug, good morning to you. Hope you're enjoying your parenthood, matey. Good morning, Paul, and all the Toon Review family. Loris Karius played really well in our Champions League campaign. Just the final, he let himself down, and as Paul said, was concussed. Deserves his chance. And that's from a Liverpool fan. You know, I mean, Liverpool fans have always said that Karius was brilliant that season, but he's remembered for the Champions League. But you look at the challenge from Ramos before those mistakes happened, and nobody can tell me that he wasn't dazed or concussed by that challenge. So people don't focus on that, though. They just focus on the mistakes and think, oh, well, he made a mistake. Yeah, fine. You know, he's rubbish. He's not. Adam says, De Gea on a 6-month contract, similar to the first contract we did to get Karius in. That's all we need. I agree. Look, I 100% agree. John Jones, you can go to hell with that. What about signing Pickford? Could you imagine? Julie's right. Hell would freeze over before that would happen. Indeed. And listen, is Pickford really? I mean, look, Pickford's a very good goalkeeper. Don't get me wrong here, but when you're talking about elite, which is where Newcastle United want to go eventually with a goalkeeper. We want to bring in a world-class goalkeeper. Is Pickford that? Pickford wouldn't want to come to Newcastle, and we wouldn't want him. Phils has been very disappointed with Dubravka this week. Not all down to him, obviously, but some of the goals were his fault. What was he doing for Spurs as third? There's my point. I know for a fact that he would have been out in a flash to that. Out in an absolute flash would Nick Pope. Darren says, why don't we have a second formation to switch to just to change things up a bit? I think Karius should get a chance. Well, we'll discuss that tonight on the review show because it's one of the points that I do want to bring up about maybe changing the formation midway through a game to compensate when things aren't going well. I think the 4-3-3 has been completely worked out, but we'll talk about that on tonight's show as well. John says, Karius for me in goal. He must at least deserve a chance. Peter says, we need De Gea, definitely. But did you also see Eddie's response about Barnes post-game? Worrying. Yeah, I did. He was asked about Barnes coming back soon, and he just said no. So all those internet rumours about Harvey Barnes being ready to come back very soon have been squashed by the manager. There's no chance of that happening. Jacka says, great to hear about your daily news roundup, Paul. Keep it up. Thank you. Yeah, I've enjoyed this live this morning, and over 300 watching. I'm really happy with that, to be honest, and I'm glad you're enjoying it. I just think sometimes I'd rather interact with you guys than just put a video out there and then interact in the comments later. But obviously, people will watch this on a rerun. That's why I do it early, so that people have got the whole day to watch it as well. So we'll see how the viewing figures go, but I've enjoyed this one, definitely. Kieran says we need a new striker and goalkeeper in January. I agree, Kieran, but I think we need a goalkeeper now. Lamp says competition for Pope is necessary. I've been banging on for several transfer windows. We need a top striker. Yep, we do, but we need a top goalkeeper as well. Dubravka is not the problem. We're just horrible away games. We will smash Milan. Hey, I like your confidence. We'll have to talk about the away form at some point, obviously, in the show as well. I know I did a video on it late last week, but I just think, hey, it's god awful. God says you can tell that yesterday we play with a way deeper defensive line, and this shows how little trust Eddie has in Dub's sweeping ability. Yes, exactly that. You go and watch Newcastle, the defensive line when Dubravka's in goal to Nick Pope, you see a huge difference. We have to have a good goalkeeper. And again, I feel sorry for Dubravka because he's been a very good servant in Newcastle United. It's got a bit stale recently, but I just think, yeah, we like I said earlier in the show, we're looking back at a goalkeeper who, when he was number 1 3 to 4 years ago, and he was excellent, and now we're down the road a little bit. He's a lot older now, and he's not as good. It's just blatantly obvious. Dan says, not that I'm an expert, but I think in January we need to have a bit of an overhaul, get rid of the excess keepers, maybe De Gea to stay under FFP, offload the veterans and look to bring in depth. Toonami says there's a reason why Pope was brought in and given the number 1 shirt. Yeah. And look, a lot of people weren't sure. I remember when Nick Pope signed, a lot of people weren't sure. We're saying, no, for me, I think I said it from the off. When Nick Pope came in, I said he's going to be our number 1. People questioned that and said that they didn't know who was going to be number 1, Dubravka or Pope. But if Dubravka was up to that standard, then Nick Pope wouldn't have been signed. There would be no reason to bring in Nick Pope. But they did. And you have to say that is the reason why, because Dubravka's aging, he's not as good as he was, and he's certainly not as good as Nick Pope. I think that's blatantly obvious now for everybody. We'll do a few more comments before we round up the show. Mr. Reaction says, love this format, Paul. It's class to wake up, drink me coffee, and listen to TTR. Now better. Thanks, buddy. John is saying stick with Dubs. Why, John? I'm interested to know why you want to stick with Dubravka. Obviously, you put the comment there, but just sort of tell us why. Tell us why you want to stick with Dubs. What have you seen in Dubravka that you would want to stick with him for? Maybe not for January, but take Kubo for Real Sociedad. Is such an exciting prospect, and he can play right wing. Yeah, but he's not a goalkeeper. And that's where we need right now. That's where we need. CWY says it's either give Karius a chance or go for David De Gea in January. Time for Dube to leave permanently. Yeah, look, the thing is, De Gea's available now. We don't have to wait for the January window to bring him in, which is why I think it's an absolute no-brainer. Pilo Keys' cracking show. Enjoy the time slot. Helps with the boredom working from home. You're very welcome. Troll says, if you as a team are fatigued, you pass a lot, and short passes are to not get knackered. Yes. And you want your goalkeeper to be part of that. That's an important thing as well. You want your goalkeeper to be part of that system when you're passing it around. And, yes, Dubravka's distribution, I wouldn't say was terrible over the 2 games. I think his distribution of players was good. But it's the speed that we need to get going. And I don't think the defence have that belief in sort of Dubravka that they do Nick Pope. Lord Wishart, thank you for your £2 super chat. Why isn't Isak firing? I seen the switch at half time. I don't know, but we'll be discussing it tonight, definitely. I Like Coffee says, how long is Dubravka's contract for? Would any team take him if we're moving him on? I think there'd be interest there. I genuinely believe there'd be interest there, but I don't know how much interest, but I believe there would be some. It depends. Well, if Newcastle want to run his contract down, let him go on a free, or we want to try and get a fee for him. I'm not sure we get a great deal for a 34-year-old goalkeeper, to be honest. If we put him up for sale now and somebody's looking at Dube saying, right, he's 34, he's let 7 goals in 2 games. I'm not sure we get a lot for him at the minute. Ronald says, mind you, it wouldn't have made a difference with the score, but that tackle on Wilson was a straight red. Yeah, we'll definitely be bringing that up tonight. Morgan says, I know I'm defending Dubes, but I do think De Gea would be good for us. Just don't think a goalkeeper is our main issue right now. Oh, right now, I think it is. But again, it's all about opinions, isn't it? And it's interesting to hear you guys where you think the main crux of the problem is. The real target says, what's De Gea actually been doing since the summer? Surely he's not been able to go straight in. Again, he's been training. If you look at his socials, he's training with the Spanish team, I believe, every day. So he's keeping himself fit. He's keeping himself sharp. Now, goalkeeper's match fitness for me isn't the same as an outfield player. I think a goalkeeper can come straight in as long as they've been training. It's different for a player to get the legs going and run around the field for 90 minutes. But a goalkeeper, I think, is a very different animal. Acid says, need a switch to 3-5-2. Isak needs help up front away from home. Also keeps the 5-man midfield and solid with the 3 centre-backs. I don't think you will ever see it, though. I don't know why he's very reluctant to change formations or give something a try in games where things isn't going well. But we will see. Now, that's it for today for the first news show. Of course, me and Billy are back tonight at 7 p.m. With the match review and all the latest news from the day. So do tune in at 7 o'clock. If you're watching this on the rerun, thank you very much for watching it when you can. And please do hit the like button as well. Those of you that are watching now and later on, of course. And if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, please come and join an incredible community here on the Toon Review by hitting that subscribe button and also the notification bell, which will let you know when we schedule our live shows or we upload any recorded videos. But I've really enjoyed this format. I think it's getting some very positive comments. So thank you very much to everybody for joining in. It's been a pleasure. And we will see you again at 7 o'clock tonight. In the meantime, have a wonderful day, guys. Take care.
Come back and check out some